in Columbus, Ohio at the Belong Arenas, the Polaris. And, well, we've got 3 teams remaining. It's already been one set of revenge as Northwood was able to take down Bay State after they had lost to them in the regular season. Maybe a chance at a second case of redemption is now in our lower finals. It's Ottawa who's looking for a little bit of a reprisal after their matchup in winners round 1 yesterday versus their adversaries of Bay State. My whole shift with me, Proper, and these last 3 teams, a lot of people had predicted that these were going to be the final 3 teams, but it's hard to pick out favorites right now with how well they've all played on the weekend.
I was walking around the venue while we were getting our vetoes done. People were asking me, like, who do you have winning the whole thing? Who do you have winning this match? I don't know for sure. It's very hard to be able to gauge. Even throwing the picks, bans, and vetoes, all the maps, everything else included, it really does depend on who is playing the better Call of Duty on that specific moment in time. Both of these 2 teams can absolutely walk away with the series.
Well, both teams are getting ready to go. Time to introduce the Ottawa Braves.
Positioning or no map control
For the Timberwolves over here on the beachfront, Rex has to deal with radio inside of
Tingly. Now the last hit for Northwood has to come through the front. Stuns to the mix, but it doesn't deter Phantoms.
The scrap time, and Rex is denied instantly on the outside looking in. Druxy gets a look at Fame.
But if you're the Panthers, you need to scrap this. You can't scrap this, though, because Druxy can win it here.
The shot's, though, not clean. Pistol in hand, it still works. Silly will look to get a regen, a reload, and a reposition. Maybe doesn't need the whole reload. Gets a second, no problem. Has a read on where Beak is positioned. If the stun connects, Beak is in trouble! Yeah. And it's a 1v3!
Just kidding, it's Bay State. The thing about it is, hey, we just saw these guys on stream, and even though they fell in 4, all of the respawns were tremendously close.
Yes, they were, and everybody was playing their roles to a very high degree. I mean, when you're thinking about the grand scheme of things, both Bay State and Northwood, yes, they were very close. Both teams, for both hard points, were over 200 points, but you really do feel like that it just has to be a collective for this team to really come together. If Druxy is going to be able to find all these routes, the other 3 players, Phantoms, Rex, and Silly, need to be able to collapse on the play that's being created.
Absolutely the case, and let's be honest, Search and Destroy was a bit of a mystery in the Desert Siege that we saw in the last series. There's also going to be some desire for correction there if Bay State are to want to try to get a confirmed rematch of their own to try to get back into the grand finals, because you do not want to sleep in this Ottawa team. They're looking really polished, really clean, really just saved the matchup they had played versus this Bay State team. So now, let's introduce your reigning CCL Season 3 champs. It's the Ottawa Braves.
What, 120 seconds? It's probably over at this point.
Second Hill Cruelty on a 6 spree.
Game starting to break away. Ottawa.
It's a couple more seconds to hold on, and Ethan is ripping them apart. Bramless walks out through. The information could be there. Waits for the second snap. A flawless break off. They're stacking the A site. Already have it taken. Gunsy is tearing up your spawns.
Went on this hill, and they can definitely try to trap.
Ottawa looking to turn this around. Nice double kill on the Beast and slides around for 3. Harvey.
This Ottawa team, just as far as the road they put together, not just to get into this matchup on the weekend, but even to get to the playoffs in the first place, was no easy feat. They had to play Westcliff a couple of times, a big qualification match that you saw kind of highlights from against Arizona State. And then the matchup that they had played versus Bay State in particular, it was a pretty tight affair, honestly speaking. Maybe save just map number 4 as a Berlin hardpoint that really was the only difference maker in the series. And for Ottawa, hopefully you've done your homework in preparation for this match as best as you possibly can.
Yeah, you really do hope so, because these 4 players are absolutely going to bring what they possibly can to seek their revenge. They already got that revenge like you were talking about versus Westcliff here on LAN. They beat them 3-0 from knocking them down in the lower bracket during the qualification bracket. But now they're looking to do it again versus the #1 ranked team we have in the CCL this year.
It's a tough affair, that much is for sure. But I think the biggest thing about it, kind of reflecting off of that tough winners round 1 matchup, is you learn a lot about yourself. And you've got the ability to kind of utilize a easier lower bracket to maybe kind of tailor in and maybe correct some of the mistakes that you were making, because it really was just a couple of moments here or there that kept Ottawa out of contention for some of the respawns that we had seen. So who knows? There's a lot kind of to look forward to when it comes to Ottawa's corrections. but the same actually could kind of be thrown back over towards Bay State.
Yes.
I mean, you had a lot of great participation out of Drugsy and the respawns at the hard point, I think mostly in particular when it comes to creating routes, but converting those opportunities may be a little bit more missed than what we're used to. So we'll take a look over at the hard point head-to-head between these two squads, because this could be where the difference maker is. If Ottawa comes out hot and really sets the tone, Bay State's going to have to be playing pickup the rest of the game.
You can see it just right on your screen. There's really not that big differences in between the two. I mean, sure, yeah, you know, there's a little bit bigger of a differential in the favor of Bay State, barring about how they went through their season. But no matter what, the way that these two teams did play hardpoint yesterday were incredibly close.
Yeah.
Apart from maybe, you know, the Berlin hardpoint, Ottawa did not really show up to play. They did not have as much of an outstanding slaying presence as they did on that Tuscan hardpoint map 1. You would assume, walking away with beating SIUE earlier today, that they should be feeling pretty darn confident that they might be able to walk in, play the game to the strengths of what we saw of the aggression earlier, to be able to really dictate the pace in these hard points.
Yeah, I like that. It's a really solid call. I think just to kind of pick and choose like I wouldn't say like your strongest or weakest points, but it does start to feel like on the weekend and in the day maybe in particular that those could be the key factors towards possibly getting to the grand finals or exiting what's going to feel like a very disappointing third for both teams.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically speaking, I think for Bay State the expectation is grand finals, but for Ottawa, you're the reigning champ. You're looking to go back-to-back for the first time ever, and they're still in a pretty good spot to argue that they could do that.
Yes, they are, and it's just one of those things, again, where with the three teams that are left, even including SIUE, I will go back and reframe what I talked about when we first came on air. Anybody can beat anybody that's left alive inside this tournament. That's how stiff the competition is here this weekend. It just comes down to who did the better homework, who's going to be more fundamentally sound, and honestly, who's going to offer up more of those errors that we've been seeing. Because when it comes down to it, these top 4 teams, you offer them any little bit of error, they're going to absolutely eat you alive. Especially with what we saw from that Tuscan control straight out of Ottawa.
Oh, yeah,
so many
absolutely.
errors were absolutely just gobbled up.
Yeah, it definitely looks like Ottawa's here and ready to play after their matchup versus SIUE, but that was with Lightning. Herbie's back into the mix now for this series, so we'll see what happens. But, of course, we got to highlight our star student in this matchup in particular. And let's be candid, you know, when we look over it, it is hard-pressed to pick anybody else besides Cruelty when it comes to Ottawa because of the performance he just came off of against SIUE.
Yeah. And
I would say most importantly, kind of watching over the shoulders and hearing the reports, he was also a key factor of taking down that Westcliff roster yesterday off stream.
Yes, he was. It's something that when you look at what Austin does bring to the table, it's the role right there. Is the AR? Yes. But the IGL role that Austin plays, I urge you all at home, when you're watching this game unfold, really watch what Cruelty's arrow is constantly doing on the map. He's not trying to get in every single engagement. Sure, you don't need to be the flashiest AR, but it's how he manipulates his role in particular to make sure that he gets as much information across to his team while overwatching the play on out. It's just one of those things that we've seen Cruelty make this happen through a handful of years now, you and I. And it's nice to be able to see him have a stack roster yet again to be able to make some more magic happen.
This very well could be another step in the right direction towards his competitive prospects as well. So just kind of throw that also into the mix to really stack up the conversation. But let's take a look to see what exactly the map series is going to look like for this best of the 5. Again, Ottawa searching for revenge. And, well, the interesting thing about this is the only map that's a repeat from the first time they had played is the Tuscan Hardpoint that we actually saw, and the Desert Siege was in the map set, but we didn't actually get to a map 5. So this is a brand new look for the first 3 maps when it comes to what these teams had played the first time around.
It is brand new comparatively to what we have seen them play in our very first match yesterday, keep in mind you. The Kavutu Hardpoint is going to be an interesting one, I will say. ARs are going to be your main focus. Your lone SMG at certain moments of time needs to be able to get the finesse game going strong. There was a point that we brought up yesterday, and I'm going to reprise it here, is that if you have an SMG that is able to go rogue and cause a ruckus, no matter the amount of rotation, no matter the hardpoint that is active, that team, more often than not, should be able to walk away with more time than the other. All that said, I want to say for Kavutu Hardpoint specifically, this is actually going to be the first time all weekend that on stream that we have seen these two teams play.
Yeah. The only time that we actually had a chance to even watch any Kavutu Hardpoint be played was in day 1 with Northwood and Westcliff, where it was Northwood absolutely beating the brakes off the Warriors. So, yeah, we'll see. It's very curious. You wonder what the mentality is around the picks and bans process, not wanting to recover or reprise any of the maps that they had played the first time through. Maybe trying to just kind of keep a couple of strats kind of guarded, so to speak. Interesting crossing angle from Phantom's topside green. That actually takes down Gunzy from the double-sided concrete stairs. Numbers here for Bull State. But with that in mind, it's actually going to be the opportunity for Ottawa to keep contesting this hardpoint. Even though they don't have great numbers, they've done well to stay alive, and now E2N on 3 has created time and space for his Braves held to come through and actually win the hardpoint.
Phantoms this entire time, ever since the opening break, has just been sitting inside of top green, just trying to pepper damage in, open up avenues of opportunity for Bay State players to try to work their way back inside of ring, but it just hasn't come up all in their favor. Rex can't lock down one kill, will be immediately gunned. Good opening hardpoint coming out from the Braves. Now they can start looking at the rotation where Phantoms is already resting inside the ship.
And I think that's just an honest-to-God just commitment from Ottawa saying we don't really necessarily give too much of a care of what's happening mid-map. We want to just full flood the objective with these SMGs, and it works out pretty nicely for them. So 29-2. A little hard-pressed to get here on rotation, though, as Druxy's already inside first and foremost, but Herbie on 4 after his initial death looked solid to create an opening, and Bay State isn't allowed to actually get onto the hardpoint, nor even control any high ground in this LSD ship whatsoever. So now Cruelty playing from the top side towards the guns will pretty much just be able to lock down and wait for players to cross in front of him. He finds Silly, no problem. Tries to take the focus over to Druxy, but once again, it's Druxy in close quarters, continuing to finesse and create space.
Nice. Now 3 in a row for Druxy, 8 and 3 in total. An electric start from the SMG player of Bay State. This is exactly what you want to see if you are a fan of the Bulldogs. Now pushing a little bit further forward. They know that they can afford to do this. 15 seconds can be soaked up. Even if you lose these gunfights, you'll still have the spawns for 3.
Oh, Druxy is essentially just going to make life an absolute hell in a handbasket type situation here for Ottawa, trying to rotate through old. Not going to work out. Silly over towards topside ring is the next line of defense on the opposite side of the map. And as Phantom's been able to collect an MP40, he could still make a mess of this boat. This is an absolutely perfect setup as far as initial time is concerned for the backside of the beachfront. Ottawa able to at least clear up some presence towards ring, but trying to break forward all from the front. You don't love the odds here for the Braves.
No, you don't, because they have that cut completely cleared out. Those crossfires are going to be difficult to say the least. You can still see Phantoms still set up on top of the ship. Now, Herbie's going to try to move their way forward. They're going to be immediately traded out. In Ottawa, they have nothing. Zilch, nada, to be able to work their way further forward. These trades are so good for Bay State to soak up all this time.
And now Druxy trying to hit a route, or at least throw some contest on the route over towards radar. Very wisely recognizes the threats. What a game from Druxy so far. 11 and 4, all of it done essentially single-handedly on these rotos. Herbie going to try to contest some of the back couple of seconds, but for Bay State, whatever, have it. We're fine with it. Easy isolation, easy kills, and radar will open up with about a 60-point lead here for Bay State.
And now you don't necessarily have the immediate setup. The moment that you try to move your way past the seawall, Rex already finds Herbie off of the respawn. You have players for Bay State already trying to encroach up the cliff path as well. You got to be able to find these trades if you're Ottawa. You cannot afford to get broken. Druxy is on 5 in a row, by the way. 14 and 4, and he's looking for more.
Nobody from Ottawa wanted to get into the hard points.
Yeah.
Cruelty was up top looking for crossing kills. It takes a full 30 seconds before Ottawa, with a 4-man setup, to even touch the hard point. Inexcusable mistake, you would have to feel like, from the Braves. A big oversight. At least they're able to get back in and at least contest this hill, but there was no reason that they should have missed a second based on that setup.
Yeah, you almost feel like that it was miscommunication for the 2 players that they weren't missing coming off the respawn. And maybe that they were looking for something a little bit different, but it is inexcusable by any stretch of the imagination that you had the closer spawns. You should have been able to walk away with at least 25, if not 30 seconds of that P4 hill. Now you're down by 40, 50, growing up to about 70 is before Ottawa can even think about getting near P5.
Well, you've got some ring control, so you could potentially set up a threat around the back. But Bay State looked pretty content to just bunkering in and around the green building around the 5th hard point. And with ARs locking down the crosses through mid, it feels empty. This whole hit feels like it's just too one-dimensional. And Silly doubles up with the automaton, and all of a sudden, this game has become anything but close.
Which is crazy to think about how P1 going into 2 started. And just the immediate fumble that just occurred over by P4. Yeah, Bay State are just kind of showing back, just playing their game comfortably. 17 and 7 for Druxy. Phantoms just behind them by a whole kill of 16 and 7. Like I was saying, I mean, Druxy, Routman, praise him all you want. He's slaying out. This team can simply do no wrong, but Ottawa also giving them an assist of just fumbling the bag. Now going back over towards the second set of rotations, Ottawa need to make something happen here. They need to make this a very strong P1 hold.
Well, solid start towards it. E2N making safe the beachfront. You've also got Hoop Tape in the kill feed. He's watching mid-map. So as far as zoning out, potential points of ingress for Bay State, job done right now for Ottawa. Good follow-ups here for E2N. Yeah, sure, why not? Also picks up an MP40 if he wants to get mixy around the hill, but doesn't need to. His teammates continue to make safe the backside staircases, and this is a absolutely uncontested first 40 seconds here at P1. Very convincing indeed. If you could turn this into an opportunity, maybe hit routes and flip the spawns around, that would be even better towards recovering after your critical mistakes. And as the scrap time force from Bay State comes out, it's Rex who gets 3 and forces Ottawa to still have to fight through old before they even see the LST ship for new.
Unable to get the rotation early again. You already have a Bay State player over there. That was silly. Ethan will take them down, though. Druxy, this is where they really started to heat things up. Walking away from P1 inside of P2, they were going crazy, but they will be traded. Now, all that said, Ottawa still need to be able to find these convincing kill feed setups. As good as you may like them, they need to be able to convert all of these pressure points into hardpoint time.
It's just the requirement for Ottawa right now, if you were to even want to even consider this map to get close, have to break through this hard point, win P3, and win the rotation to 4. Otherwise, let's start talking about search and destroy, because Bay State just absolutely punished a critical mistake from Ottawa when there really should. There's no reason that they shouldn't have been all in control of P4. So as we set up kind of the laundry list of things that the Braves have to do, so far so good on kind of checking off the first box. You get through old, you're able to lock down some scrap time. The question will be, how do you want to get around the back and flip spawns as you look to break P3? Because you can't just go 30-30 here. You have to get at least 40 seconds.
Yes, you do. You would assume that it would have to be by way of an SMG, if not maybe a duo, to be able to get in the backside of green. Bay State are set up for this on 2 different fronts. You got one player already inside the hard point and one pushing up towards top ring. The biggest issue is how do these 2 players deal with the offensive push that is about to be coming through the backside of green? Well, it makes it a little bit easier when Rex finds 2 on the ring.
Spawn flip comes through. That's 15 seconds into the hard point. You have to win this rotation, Rex. Nearly, if he were to hold on the trigger, would have gotten blessed with a double. And as Silly rotates off the unfavored spawn towards topside ring, it's just, where is the decision-making for Ottawa? At the moment, it just feels like it's all plug and play. We'll see if this one player can make a move. This has not been good enough for Ottawa in any regard.
No. It's just too individualistic, too linear. Have the 15 seconds. Bulldogs don't care. 217 v 130. Silly's just going to sit up here and just keep gutting people galore. Yeah, you need to start moving your way. Leave one player, try to finesse for some scrap time, but you need to rotate faster if you're Ottawa. They are hesitating.
The way that I'm kind of reading it is like Ottawa's still looking and waiting for an opportunity to convert a kill they see. When you get the opening gunshots in and you've damaged up a Bay State Bulldog, they're not going to force a second gunfight. They're going to finesse and try to delay you as long as possible. And Ottawa is still looking for these kills. I don't even want to call it red dot chasing because they're not even chasing. It's red dot holding. I don't even know if that's a thing.
They're just all triggered up, man, waiting for the gunfight to come to them.
That's really what it feels like.
Yeah.
And that is, I don't think there is a single moment in the history of watching an Ottawa esports team where I've ever said those words.
No, because normally they're all just super fast-paced, but it just simply will not mean much of anything at all. Not when Bay State are playing the way that they just showcase on stream, man. It's just one of those things, again, just to go back and just hit it one more time. Yes, they were trying to wait for all of those kills, but that's the game plan that Bay State wanted to play. Like, you're playing into 3 ARs, and if you're just waiting for them to go for the rechow, you're just going to exhaust what felt like about 30 seconds on so many different hardpoints that could have been converted into more space. It could have been converted into more hardpoint time, like back on 4. But most importantly, it also played into the fact that you're trying to wait for those line of sights to be taken by an enemy AR, and then Druxy just comes off the flank.
Yeah, it's just... I'm absolutely shell-shocked.
Yeah.
I've never seen Ottawa play that type of hardpoint before.
Me neither.
In the 2 years that we've had the opportunity and the benefit of watching this team dominate their respawns.
Yeah.
Looking at the statistics, I mean, I don't know. I just don't know who you look to first for this side of Ottawa, because you really can't put a ton of fault on any individual player, because simply put, you were just allowing Bay State to extend lives to points where Drugsy was able to go 20 and 15. He dominated the first rotation worth of hard points. And from there, Phantoms is just happy to be set up as an AR, just watching crosses. It just felt like the two of them were continually delaying Ottawa just as an individual duo.
Yep. It really does say a lot when a main SMG on Gavutu only has 15 deaths. Druxy only getting himself 6 traded kills, and he was inside the hard point for 2 minutes and 15 seconds.
Yeah,
I mean,
dude.
It's just the lack of answers. It's just, I'm mind blown. I don't understand how the Braves were not understanding that the pace needs to get picked up. Those longer lines of sights are not going to be thrown again. Bay State, understand you have to make the play first. And look, if the pace doesn't try to get met, if not somehow corrected going into these triple dose of Tuscan, I mean, we're going to be in for a short one before Grand Finals, man.
Could be. Here's the thing, though, as we look over to a Tuscan search and destroy. The time that these two teams had met before, it was Berlin, and it was a very tight affair. It really was a back-and-forth set of rounds. A number of them were clutched in, like, 1v2 situations. Numbers were pretty much always 1v1s, 1v2s. You look back to the reasons why. You focus first on E2N, who looked great with the scope when they had played, but really only from one side of the bomb. It was really only on the offensive side he found value with the scope.
Yeah.
And on the opposite side for Dylan, you know, he was kind of the one, I won't say to counter, but he was there kind of trying to get a read and then taking the space that was given, depending on whatever Ethan was watching.
I mean, that's what I feel like Rex brings to the table. He's like a Swiss Army knife of a player right now, considering like how far he has come and gone in between switching roles continuously through multiple teams. It just also really does bring a lot to the table when it comes down to the search and destroy as well, picking up different weapons off the ground, being able to change and manipulate their playstyle to fit the mold of what is necessary. Every single time throughout the entire weekend that Dylan is getting into a first blood engagement, he has won it. But more often than not, if it requires for him to play a slower, methodical style, he can pull out the sniper, he can pull out the AR. Whatever is required to play against Ottawa's strengths, that's where you can rely on Rex for the squad.
Yeah, really outside of the times that he's had the Car 98, he's really not the person to be in the first blood engagements. No. He's always the one to kind of be the flex and rotate defensively around wherever he's needed. So I think it's really curious to see how the affair is going to work out, because you don't expect double snipers to come out in any form when it comes to Tuscan Search and Destroy. But if either of these two players do decide to pick up a scope from the defensive side in particular, will the success rate still be the same? Because that could be a difference maker overall. And maybe for something like Ottawa, you need someone to catch a hot hand and just immediately start to shut down any initial plays. So, I don't know. It's hard to speculate around because it's the first time we've seen these two teams play Tuscan Search and Destroy, not just against each other, but at least for this broadcast in particular, the first time we've seen them play it on stream. So we'll kind of learn to see what both teams prefer as we get ready to go. Looks like the lobby has closed, so we'll kind of continue to talk through it. And I don't know. I feel like it's not necessarily, you know, as much as the head-to-head kind of lets us look into potential sniper matchups. I'm actually more interested to see if Bay State's going to try to take an aggressive stance here and try to get early plants in. Just try to force fights over towards A, and hopefully it leads to an easy early plant for you.
Dude, if Druxy is still feeling himself coming away from that Gavutu hard point, as the OBJ player, I'd be calling for those fast and aggressive plants over towards A. I would be calling the bluff because, it just feels like all of Ottawa have just been playing very, very passively and just waiting for the engagements to come to them. But this is a point that I brought up yesterday during their map number 2 when they played against each other in winners round 1. Ottawa need to actually dictate the pace. This is where you need to actually rely on Gunsy. You go back to Modern Warfare. Oh, Carnage Gunsy. We need that guy to come back and play in this series right now where he is just constantly just running through the map, trying to find these engagements, walking away with them more often than not. That's the Gunsy that we need right now to step up to the plate and try to meet the pace that is going to be set by Bay State.
A lot of wants, a lot of needs. We can sit here and talk about it all day long, but the fact matter is we could sit here and talk about it all day long. The fact that we're already in person with all these players is incredible. It really goes to show all of the progress that CCL staff and team has made over the course of the last, well, we'll say 5 years now, with Season 0 being a thing. And, of course, that couldn't be possible without the support and help from eFuse and, of course, Belong Arenas as well. While we're kind of considering what things have looked like for our number 1 team in the CCL, it's not just the fact that they've got a star-studded roster worth of players. They've also brought through one of the more fleshed-out back-end staffs, and we had a chance to talk with Bay State's head coach, Mystic, as they were entering into the weekend.
My name is Charles, and I am Mystic, and I am the head coach for Bay State. I think the first match versus Ottawa will be good. I think it'll be good for our team to start off with them because it'll be a good warm-up match, basically, to start the tournament off with. We're going to be very hot going into this tournament. We've made some changes. The whole team is going to look a lot different going into this tournament. We've done a lot of rearranging and role swaps, and things are looking a lot better now than they ever have been. Especially with, Call of Duty Vanguard. Sometimes you have to let Vanguard play you, and you just have to know how to react to certain situations. So as long as we are in the moment and everybody's comms are good and nobody gets frustrated about anything that could possibly go wrong, then we're looking good in basically any situation because, Justin will lead the way and keep everybody on the same page. There's been a good amount of drama with the whole Northwood rivalry going back to the beginning of the season. Obviously, we won our first matchup with them, and then we go into the NACE league, and it did not go very well, but we've made a lot of changes since then. So it'll be a completely different match than what we've had before against Northwood. It's a completely different environment being in person. Obviously there's the aspect of banter and trash talk and getting to see your opponents, but from my perspective as a coach, it's very powerful being in person with the players versus being online, where like if somebody makes a good play, I can directly make eye contact and talk to them about it, like, hey, that was a really good play for reasons X, Y, and Z, and we can, you can build a better connection in person. Bay State all the way.
We do love a good little listen in with Charles. I think it's just really easy to say. Not only is he a great guy, we're both pretty good friends with him, but he's by far, I would say, one of the more exciting young coaches to be onto the scene. Obviously, his success through Challengers is by far, at least in my mind, Coach of the Year, if you want to call it, as far as the Challenger seat is concerned. But for him to also take that into stride and focus just as hard on what's going on in the CCL, it's one of the main reasons why the star-studded roster of Bay State had been able to find so much success throughout the whole season.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better pickup. We talk about the back of house that has basically been flushed out for this Bay State roster. And those that still don't know who Charles is, if you never looked him up on COD Gamepedia, shame on you, because Charles has found himself quite a bit of success going through the entirety of the Vanguard year, and he brings a lot of that wisdom and ableness to make sure that this team not only understands what to do from map to map, but he's also very, very good at the player mental health aspect of it as well. He's making sure that everything stays sound within the communications for these rosters that he does coach since the beginning of his time stepping away as a player. It's been monumental for the success rate.
And I think as far as like overall, all the programs that we have that are still left, by the way, have really solid cultures and ecosystems built on their university campuses. But the one thing that never gets talked about enough, especially when you're dealing with a roster of 4 players that are still also pursuing challengers at the highest degree, is time management. And so the fact that you've got a coach that is also in that same run,
that's true.
You have the ability to kind of mentally sit there and say, all right, we have to come back, guys. We need to get a couple of CCL scripts, and we need to talk about what's going to happen. And hey, I mean, you hear it from his word, talking about the results from the NACE event where they dropped all 5 maps. The Northwood's like, okay, we need to really focus in here. We can't just cruise through the whole season, otherwise we're not going to win.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Charles knew, Bay State knew, Marco knew. Like, it's one of those things that when you get down to the top 3, they are all very talented. Anybody with the right amount of preparation could absolutely beat anybody. It's like, I'm going to be like a broken record to you by the end of the day. It's just one of those things, again, when you think about it, that the preparation needs to be there for all of these teams to showcase why they are a championship caliber team, to showcase why we should care that they are here for the CCL LAN.
Well, after map 1, confidence and comfortability, I'm sure, is definitely in the camp of Bay State and the Bulldogs. But can they maybe fix up some of the mistakes that were made coming off the winner's final Search and Destroy performance? Granted, that was on Desert Siege, so a different look here, and a first-time look, as we had mentioned just a moment ago, for both of these 2 teams on Tuscan Surge, at least for this broadcast on the weekend. And the questions that are going to occur, I think, largely is going to be, how does Ottawa try to put together a response here in round number 1? And they'll have to do that from the offensive lens. It's a 3-1 split. A lot of focus and team shots coming down mid. And oh my, that is as good as you'd like. Team shots from all 3. It's Gunsy for the double. Only 1 in response, to the B site's wide open.
That's the Gunsy we were asking for. Be able to dictate the pace, find those kills. Now Silly needs to go big in this 2v3.
Oh.
Doesn't find anything.
No, it doesn't connect at all.
Uh-oh.
The timing was half of a second too long, but look at the clearance out of Rex. They've already made sure that no one was towards mid-map nor towards A. So Silly's going to have to respond to a patio play. He sees Hoop Dame. Shots will push him back. Now Rex on the pinch has a player nearby. able to take down Gunzy, but losing Silly from the front now all of a sudden puts extra questions into Dylan's mind. Are they still here? Have they rewrapped all the way around the world towards A? Nades are going to commit. There's an opportunity here where Dylan could possibly isolate. And Hoop Tape and E2N are going to say, let's not give him a chance. Let's double shell everything. Shoulder comes out. Rex's eyes were already moving off screen. In Ottawa, they're just chasing him down.
Yep. Here they come. Run, Rex. Run!
He's done it.
He's out. He's off the scene so far.
Wait.
Now you can plant this bomb. He might actually be able to come back over here, be able to find an exit. He's got an AR. He can overwatch this entire play unfold.
CZ2N first and foremost knows where the response off the exit is. Pistol in hand. Hoop Tape's turning to take the fight back. Rex for 3. A 1v3 clutch from Dylan. And add that to the list of things that can't happen if you're Ottawa.
Wow. I mean, they really chased Rex for an eternity. He dropped down, kept his life from the top sandbags of Church, and then he was able to find his way back around the column to find the exit. He had the weapon for it all. And again, it's that split-the-second call. Got the damage with the automaton, chased down with the pistol to be able to get that clutch. Massive round coming out from Rex to be able to clear as much as they did.
And after that opening from Ottawa, team shooting 2 players topside Church. Bay State now on the offense. Nate's set over towards A. Phantoms has been tagged. Topside fire. Cruelty wants to take the fight. And he gets punished after the first blood had been tallied by Gunzy, who continues to try to reign supreme over you at the moment. Silly's nearby. Oh, but he slipped the timing. Gets a read on where Gunzy's positioned. The help should be there, but Gunzy slips through, able to elude and turn that into a double. So now maybe it's Phantom's turn. 1v2 for him. Herbie looking to challenge off the exit from Fire Alley. He's going to hold a corner. This is so wise from Hoop Tape. Just comes down to, does he guess the correct corner at the right time? Sure should think. Phantom's reception. Oh, my. If he pulls that off, just cut the stream.
Whew, okay. I didn't want to start creating the list and add a second notch already through the second round of things that cannot happen for Ottawa. But yeah, wise as you like. Herbie playing that corner was everything. Timmy did not check it. But even still, you really got to tip it to Gunzy, who again, through rounds, 2 rounds in, found themselves back-to-back 2 pieces. To actually sway the decision for these rounds. Now another offensive attempt will be Cruelty to look through the middle of the map. Star Student's got to throw a stun and leave.
As far as adjusting off of your initial look, you throw a shoulder for Cruelty. You say, oh, hey, look, we're contesting mid. Look at me. But you're actually looking to bait players over towards well side with this 3-man, now 4-man stack for Ottawa over towards B. Drugsy. A little bit of help from Phantoms as they look to defend this B site. And look at the clearance again from Silly. He's already rewrapped all the way through Vines and up towards Fire. There's only one place that Ottawa can beat. Bay State should have all the information in the world they need.
Gunzy's got the bomb. He's throwing shoulders. Silly actually tags him. Gunzy wants to kill him.
Good
He finds
grief,
it,
bro.
and he's not going to get traded.
And there's nowhere to go. You're trapped. All you have to do right here for Bay State with numbers is play containment. Don't let them exit. But Silly misses a bit of timing, so Cruelty will open up at least some sort of a vacancy to rewrap back. The problem about it is, who cares? Because Rex is already in a position to rewatch this. So as far as Phantoms and Drugsy are concerned, just keep watching these crosses. And eventually, Ottawa's going to give you the information you need.
You don't need to go anywhere. Here, got the information on one. Sees the second, smokes him. Herbie's able to take down Phantom, so that does open up Church. So
What a read.
loses the gunfight, though. So now a big 2v1 come through. Rex did it once. You can do it again.
Same bomb site. Same 2 players defined. Uh-oh. Cruelty on the staircase. Rex sees it, takes the Eagle Chail, slides through, baits out the first shots. Tags coming through, able to get him down to no ammo. And Rex cannot be stutch. Oh, my God.
Wow. There's a reason why I call him the Swiss Army knife of a player. He is just finessing. He became an immovable object during that last 1v1. I wish we got just that entire 1v1 back. Threw a shoulder, saw him on the staircase, came back through, whips back around the wall, twice on over to find the damage, and then flies at him with a pistol. That's just, woo, that's the Rex special. And he is definitely going to be feeling pretty darn skippy walking away with those back-to-back clutches like that. 5-1 for Dill.
Should be 3-0 Ottawa right now. Cruelty opening shots through mid.
Bay State happy to let him just keep poking away, at least initially, but Phantoms takes a delayed peek, and Gunzy was there to put some team shots in. So first blood good for Ottawa. That'll be safe. E2N looking to establish some Car 98 pressure with the scope. He's playing actually pretty far forward here. He's in the danger zone, not just from gunfire, but also potential nades. He gets stunned up down to 4 HP. He's trapped. He's got no help here whatsoever. This will be a free trade for Rex. And we go from a 2v3 down to a 2v2 with A completely cleared out for Bay State.
Still very worried about the flank, so Drux is just going to hang back, make sure it's all clear. Rex is just going to throw some spam shots. They're trying to bait out a challenge to come through, but the timing for Herbie might actually be really good for this flank out.
Just depends if Bay State even commits to going over towards A. Drugsy also may re-wrap, and he was thinking about it. Now all the information goes the way of Hoop Tape. Stun comes out. Gunzy watching the exit from U. Throws a stun of his own, and finally, numbers will prevail for Ottawa.
Okay. See, those are the types of executions in closing of rounds that need to consistently occur for this Ottawa roster. They simply cannot allow all of these fumbles to happen, all of these different 1v odd clutches to constantly come through for Bay State. Round starts off with a couple of trades. I mean, Bay State, you might try to harp on them for not immediately planting the bomb after they fully cleared away the site, but the flank was not secure, not in that 2v2. Gunzy for 3 in that previous round, brings him up to 8.
Similar look as round number 1 here for Ottawa, looking for team shots up towards Church, but Bay State have learned their lesson. Not really overchelling it whatsoever, and that's going to lead to free control over towards you. Hoop Tape delayed pushing over through the mid towards Trucks. Gets one before being traded away, but Rex watching the cross means that there's just no opportunity here for Ottawa to work over into A. Nades will confirm that, yeah, the Braves are still in the vicinity. And Phantoms could continue to just kind of wait and watch for a B cross, and he's got the ability to kind of secondary chow through mid.
Need to try to bait out a pick, but Bay State doesn't need to give you anything. Druxy in the corner of you. He's going to be scouted out by Gunzy, who finds himself on 4. But it needs to be more individual plays coming through, especially with Phantoms taking down Ethan. Gunzy waits for the drop, finds Phantoms, gets the read on the last player, and gets the hell out of dodge.
Oh, they're both wanted to go up high here. Rex was thinking about making the jump. Gunzy beats him by using the ladder, the more conventional way of scaling the walls. And a re-wrap from Gunzy as he gets back over towards the bomb. This would be another situation where Rex is called upon to clutch. Otherwise, for Gunzy, this could lead to kill number 11, 6 of which would be in a row. Bomb collected. 10 seconds on the clock. Gunzy still feeling out over towards A. And as he tries to stick for the timing for the plant, Rex is going to check this. And he doesn't quite see him initially. Shots will tag. Gunzy stays alive. Rex wants to force. Not going to let him get the region whatsoever. 26 HP. And Rex puts him literally back up against the wall. Another clutch for Dylan.
Wow. I mean, Gunzy did a great job at least hitting the deck the moment that damage started coming all the way through. But it really does feel like Rex is living for these 1v odd situations. The last player alive just simply could do no wrong. Just does a fantastic job in these isolated ones, just making sure that the damage is constantly felt. The pressure is always there, never fully allowing the regen to ever come through. I gotta say, man, this Bay State Esports roster, when it comes down to their search and destroy, I don't think it's ever looked this clean all year long.
So Rex has gotten a 1v3, a 1v2, and a 1v1. He is one full 1v4 ace away from hitting for the cycle. I don't think anything like that has ever happened in COD history, by the way. That would be insane.
It'd be the first time I've seen it live.
We'll take the ace. An ace, I think, would still count if he were to get 4 in the round.
Yeah.
That would count.
I put that on my bingo card.
All right. Well, Guns is going to get forward over to the front side of Fire, and Silly very aware that someone could be lingering. Tao is a very free first blood. There also has a lot of information on where E2N is, and it's just these are all individual looks for Ottawa. Nothing going their way. Bay State putting on a clinical masterpiece on this search at the moment, even though the score is still technically tight.
It's just a little bit too easy, isn't it?
It feels that way.
Like the way that Ottawa are still setting up defensively is just, there's no creativity. There's no stuns, no nades to dissuade these angles from being pushed, even from over by Ruins. Like, if you're going to play that one-dimensionally,
well,
at least,
I don't think it's necessarily a one-dimensional thing. It's just, like, in that instance, you get Gunzy forward.
Yeah.
There just isn't enough ability to help him from an AR over the top that you categorically will typically see. It just feels like there are small moments that are missed. It doesn't necessarily feel like it's super one-dimensional. The looks that we've gotten offensively for Ottawa has been solid. It's just been converting has been the miss.
So now Gunzy just, I mean, we're 7 rounds in, he's got 11 kills. So, I mean, he's doing everything you could possibly want for the Braves. Good first blood tallied, and Silly's a little bit stuck right now over towards Staircase, but help has arrived as the Bulldogs full rotate to help this be hit.
And now it's them that are actually trapped. Bulldogs need to make a play
Like
happen.
how?
And Druxy hits it.
How?
And he just goes forward. The help is there from Rex. Evens up numbers, and it gets it back in their favor. 3v2.
Someone has to watch for that.
Oh, man.
So Gunzy, just between him and Rex,
That's what it feels like.
just send them out to 1v1 every round and we'd get a great search, I think. He's got the bomb in hand. Will stick for the plant. Rewrap coming out of Bay State's defense as they're going to re-clear the spawn. And that will at least give them some clearance as far as where this post plant could be set up for Ottawa.
Oh, and Gunzy's just playing on the bomb.
Yeah.
Cruelty is going to have to at least win one. Sees the damage comes through. He's just going to get the hell out of Dodge. Back up to patio.
And Gunzy doesn't give away his position. He popped up for a moment to help if needed. But Cruelty's already gotten free. He needs to get one here, though. Cruelty needs to get one. Takes a couple of shots backs away. Should have read that both players were here. They're going to stack on top of each other. They're going to stack on top of each other.
Oh, no. Oh, no. We'll call it what it is. That's a breakdown, man. That you can't. Gunzy was the one player down in the corner. If you try to get down there with them, you're just basically funneling these two players that are trying to chase that kill. And you even saw it from Bay State's perspective. Druxy had no idea where the other player was located. They were snapping inside of P5, trying to see if Gunzy's going to come out, maybe try to get that kill, as Austin was just trying to lure them away. But then he lured him into a double stack up on top of each other instead of maybe going up towards top bunks. That is a unforced error if I've ever seen one.
Team shots out Ottawa defensively through mid. Bay State only looking for information off of their early nades. And then a quick rewrap back over towards P5. They will have to clear headquarters, because you just never know if there's a defender who slipped through. And Hoop Tape, not feeling good about this, will actually back away. The timing of this is fine. Can he find the kill over towards patio, though? No. It's Drugsy for first blood. Nobody else defensively anywhere nearby. And Drugsy with 5 in a row will stick for the plant. And Bay State is a 4v3 away from going up 2-0 in the series. Make it a 4v2. Cruelty stuck over towards backside stairs. He gets one, but he's going to need help from Gunzy, which is not something you want to say because Gunzy's been unbelievable, and he's the one who actually needs the help, technically speaking, in this map.
Oh, they're just going to chase him down. Now Austin does find another, but it's going to have to be the full-on ace if Cruelty wants to stay alive with their team in the search and destroy. Cannot happen.
What?
Bay State go up 2-0 in the series, convincingly, might I add.
Ottawa should have been up 4-1 in
Yes.
this map. You lose a 1v3. You put together a really solid opening look, and you think, oh, this is great. We got the first 3 kills, no problem. Only giving away 1 trade, and everything just falls apart after the first 30 seconds. Honestly, almost every single round, everything almost fell apart in the first 30 seconds, even after good first blood engagements. And that's the stuff that if we're being honest, that's what we saw when Northwood played up against Bay State in the regular season.
That's true.
Giving away huge numbers advantages even after winning opening gunfights. You just cannot allow that to happen. And, credit where credit is due. The full squad, including Rex, obviously, breathing in some life to this Bay State roster in difficult situations. But, someone's got to give Gunzy some freaking help.
It's just the individual plays that actually almost ended up propelling Ottawa going forward. And don't worry, we know what happened. Bay State won that 6-2, not the other way around. Either way, as it may end up presenting itself, it's just one of those things, again, where Rex was just feasting. 1,400 damage, 10-3. Just can't allow that to happen. He defused the bombs 3 times. That's how many clutches he ends up finding for himself. Was those 3 rounds? He gets the 1v3, the 1v2, and the 1v1.
Yeah.
It's just things you cannot allow to have happen.
How about the simple fact that Gunzy had 12 total kills and 4 of them were first bloods? That's already an unbelievable statistic.
They only won 2 rounds.
Yeah. Man. What a bizarre look. And as much as we're sitting here looking disfavorably about Ottawa, you cannot take anything away from Bay State. They have played an immaculate series so far, dominating the Gavudu hard point, barely giving any openings for Ottawa to work with in the first place.
Yep.
And then they're in the Tuscan Search and Destroy. I mean, some of the biggest Search and Destroy moments we've had all weekend. So, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, the moment that they ended up losing that winners final series to Northwood, I went out there and just said, you know, get some air, kind of get away from you. And, and it was just one of those things that I immediately saw the crowd around them. They were all conversing. They were VOD reviewing immediately, trying to make sure that everything was squeaky clean. They want to make sure that this is done as cleanly as possible to make sure that Northwood know who they're going to go up against.
So far, so good. 3rd-2. We'll send things over to our halftime break. It's going to be Control coming up right on the backside, and Ottawa just need to find some life, and they need to find it quick. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to the College Course. Welcome back to the College Con Season 4 playoffs and the lower finals. I'm just combining all these weird words today. I had the Desert Search that I mean,
you're dressed like a professor. I was ready to get a crash course on something.
I don't know. We're just crashing. There's no course here. It's just crashing. And easy segue. So also is currently Ottawa, looking like they're doing their best Red Hot Chili's impersonation, not because they're spicy, because everything so far in the first 2 maps has been give it away, give it away, give it away now.
Boo.
I know.
Tuscan Control is going to be coming up next. I actually quite enjoy that. Red Hot Chili Peppers is actually one of my favorite
I know you
bands
vibe with the little Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I had to hold myself back from that one. But yeah, the Tuscan Control coming up next is going to be an interesting one because Ottawa did 3-1 SIUE to start off our broadcast today in our lower semifinals. But when it's all said and done, I mean, this team is just not playing the greatest Call of Duty we've seen these 4 players play throughout their history of playing Call of Duty.
No.
They're playing very individually. They are not necessarily formulating the most, I guess, smart plays that you could even offer. Even when something is handed to them on a silver platter, they just don't collect on it.
Yeah, it's riddled with mistakes.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about all of it is, and, you know, we've got the ability of kind of looking at multiple feeds, including the player camps, like, where is the Gunzy that was getting up and popping off at Westcliff yesterday?
Yes.
It just feels like, looking at this Ottawa team, that they're a little flat. Like, I hate inserting that to the conversation because what do we know? But it feels that way, just kind of comparing to what they brought energy-wise to Westcliff. And looking down to what they've been doing right now, it's just like something is off, man.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're forced to have to reverse sweep. The good news is you're going into Control where you've been great this weekend, including the matchup versus Bay State. It was just on a different venue. We've got Tuscan this time instead of the Gavudu, where it was an all-defensive affair in winners round 1. You have to look at Gunzy here because he's been the only player with a lifeline at the moment for this Ottawa team.
Yeah, and to even go back, you know, Gavutu comparatively to Tuscan, it's apples to oranges, quite literally. It's that they actually denied so many segments of progression to Bay State. Bay State could not get out of their spawn.
Yeah.
It was defense for defense, yes, but really the only ones that were able to get total segment progression throughout the entirety of it, actually looking back at my notepad, was Ottawa. So when you're looking at that, yes, you need Gunzy to continue to have a similar performance of what we saw in the map number 2 of the Tuscan Search and Destroy. But even more than that, we need to see that then be collected and then reciprocated by his teammates.
Yeah. Well, looking down at the player camps from our POV, there are at least some smiles across Ottawa, but not for everybody. And it's time to lock in. You need to show a pulse at this moment, I think, if you're the Braves. At least you've got Control to do it. They got a game mode that they've been great on in the regular season. You also hold a little bit of a head-to-head advantage against this Bay State team. But a lot is left to be done, and you need to come out with this opening offense and really show us something.
Offense first here for the Braves. Actually ended up losing the initial blood. This is all just a little bit of a bait play. Who is able to get himself inside a church but can't find anything? It's Gunzy that answers back with 2.
They're out, man. Oh, what a read from Truxy. And he gets away knowing he can't take a second gunfight. And Ottawa's on the hunt for him. So, yeah, there's a handful of even trades that's kind of exfoliating across the zone, but no progress at all towards A. Hoop Tape spawning down towards the rooftop side is going to make a play over towards B. Cruelty looks like he wants to join him, and this is just too disjointed. It's not put together in any sort of a conglomerative fashion at all.
Yeah, they're discombobulated, and the defensive team of Bay State are just absolutely feasting on all of these mistakes that the Braves continuously throw at themselves. Just a 0-7 start between Herbie and Ethan, just not things that you love to see. Now they're going to take their entire virtues off the respawn, 3 players deep. They run over at least 1 player inside a patio. They're going to try to get on the B zone.
You got to recut back over through mid here. There's just not an opportunity to get an extra 60 seconds on B in my mind. You got no progress. Cruelty on 3. Still trying to force the play through patio side. Drugsy there to meet him. No follow-up whatsoever from E2N. So it's an 0-10 start for Hoop Tape and E2N. And with 20 seconds on the clock, looking at a 9-life disadvantage for Ottawa, your only hope is to get to A. You've got the threat of pinches in front of you, aggressive headies that are being held in. God, man.
Just can't buy a gunfight. They can't, well, I mean, Gunsy can. Cruelty went on that 3 spree. But they can't find themselves a convincing kill feed. Finally, Ethan puts himself on the board, but Silly is just on the god heady, just feasting. Finds 2. Finally, Gunsy trades him out, but just as soon as Gunsy finally gets that trade on to Silly, who was just laying waste to Ottawa as soon as they were trying to recontest out from Tree, they say close out the round.
I am at a loss for words.
Tell me. Try to tell me.
Explain. I can't. I literally do not have the lexicon to even begin explaining what I'm feeling.
Make symbols
right
with your hands. Draw me a picture.
I am Italian. We could have a conversation with my hand gestures, but the stream would be a little lost. The thing about it is, like, I want to start inserting the conversation, like, is this just Bay State playing that well? But when you've got 2 players that are combined 1 and 13, I think this is more Ottawa just not ready to play, which is so surprising because they looked so good versus Southern Illinois to start the day.
Yes, they did. And they looked very, very good and confident at that in their lower round run after losing to this Bay State roster yesterday. It's just crazy because, like, the Suns nades, nothing else is also coming through to at least check corners. They're just literally running at them. They're offering them free kills.
Well, Drugsy 3 in a row. Oh, little heat check over mid. Got a good read on where the contestant for the Ottawa Braves would have been, Matt. But finally, signs of life here for Ottawa in the map as they reclaim the A zone. Stop it at only 2 ticks of progress, but off the respawn, nades are starting to litter the zone, and that will lead to a Bay State extra 60 seconds most likely as Ottawa is more favorably trying to take over the map from the bottom side of the minimap.
Gonna have to concede this. 60 seconds will come through. Look at how isolated everybody is. This is going to be a lot of individual moments that need to come through. Ethan already loses the one, the top side of Church. So that's going to call for Herbie to try to pick things up top.
Gets a read that one player had crossed. Ethan should know that there's an imminent threat involved. He's got a couple of different members he's got to deal with. Oh, goodness. Almost peeled off and finished from the most favorable look you could have had. 2 and 13 from E2N. Make it 2 and 14. Lives becoming a problem again for Ottawa's defense as Bay State don't just have pressure into your spawn. They've got a really good look to contest backside column, maybe even get towards patio as Drugsy once again was feeling feisty, wanted Gunsy, and eventually gets shut down. Phantom's isolated, and Ottawa's defense can finally get themselves set up.
5 life lead. About a minute and 15 left. Now there's surely no way that Bay State are going to be able to find all these kills. Or will they? Because Rex slides in, finds 2 on the patio side. Ethan needs to continuously go big because the rest of his teammates are just spawning up and they're behind him. The kills are good enough to at least hold the space for now.
Those are just different gunfights out of Dylan. He's got no business taking 2. Just none. So Ottawa, largely defending from the back of the B zone, would have to respond in this last 45 seconds to a 13v8. Cruelty gets one to the backside. Phantom's looking to double up, but it's Gunsy who locks down the lane and shuts down any force of play for the Bulldogs around the backside of the defensive spawn.
30 seconds remaining. Going to be your last attempt if you're looking at this from the Bulldogs. Be wise for the Braves not to over-aggress and take these gunfights. Just let them come to you. But they at least find one. Down to 20 seconds, and here come the Bulldogs.
Oh my god, dude. Dude, are you kidding me? This is just, I don't even know, man. How are they winning these gunfights? If we weren't on LAN, I would start to at least mentally think about just a ping difference, but the ping difference right now is 0. Now a 7v11. Ottawa forced to have to respond to the last couple of hits, and even Silly and Drugsy as a duo keep the play alive. 4v9. 1 tick of progress locked, but Drugsy could only do so much. Now 12 seconds on the clock. The Bulldogs are going to have to be sprinting to try to get here.
Whoa.
And once again,
dude.
Oh gosh, if Gunsy gets smoked here, it's all reservations are off. But
okay,
wow.
Woo. So going to talk about those 4 segments though. That's yeah. I don't know. I was okay with it. I wasn't overly questioning it coming away from those the 1v3, 1v2, 1v1 that we had from Rex in the search. But then some of these gunfights that he's just winning, I mean, he is just determined. Look, he's on a head glitch in his camera right now. He is so determined to try to win out this lower finals match. Good heavens, he's 13-9. His cousin also has 13 kills and only 7 deaths. Need a response here. Dastardly as it may be, Ottawa Braves are still down by a total of 4 segments.
It's just, for the third map, did somebody help Gunzy? Like, he almost has more kills than his entire team combined. That's starting to change a little bit here as he's kind of in the blender after the last 2 lives that he's put together here offensively. Predictions are perfect. And it just feels way too comfortable right now for Bay State.
It's just looking too easy. Against these 4 players on Ottawa, where it legitimately shouldn't be. They're all just posted back in the side of Vines, and it's going to give Bay State just so many opportunities just to cut the land in half, find themselves another 3 kills.
6 life lead, 45 seconds of the clock, and no one's even set foot onto A yet. Drugs is going to shut down any potential play over towards B and maybe even use this as an opportunity to pinch. He doesn't need to. I mean, Silly's doing it all himself from these forward positions. And it's just there's 0 real estate for Ottawa to work with.
Going to try to at least push through you, get some mid-map control for themselves, but still got to deal with Silly over by the street box. Dumps down. Oh, man, if he finds that kill on a cruelty, I lose it. But finally, some kills do come through. Map pressure as you may like it. 12 seconds remaining. You got to make a play happen.
It's 20v13. And this may be a defensive Tuscan where Bay State, if they get a couple of nades to connect, they may stop even a single tick of progress from being locked. And finally, Ottawa's able to get something going offensively with 1 tick secured. But they still have a very lengthy journey to go down, and it just feels like they're not calming and picking up on trades in any form whatsoever. It just feels really, really lackluster, honestly.
Sloppy.
It just feels like, I don't know, like, again, I don't know, I'm speculating, I hate that I'm doing this, but it just feels like no one's calling to each other of what we need to be hitting, where I just died from, how are we going to pick up those trades, I don't know. This is not at all what you expect from the Braves roster.
Not from these 4 players, no. Not from Ottawa, not from this university. Oh no. First 6 going to come through, got at least 1 player on there for the time being. Rex is feeling himself, he's cutting down so many players off the spawn. Oh no. It's over. Oh, yep.
Unbelievable, bro. Jeez. Look, here's the thing. And for those that are out there that, you know, are newer in college COD, you're probably thinking, man, these casters are really harping on Ottawa. It's your reigning champion, and they put together equally as dominant of a run through their regular season and postseason as the other 2 teams that find themselves in grand finals. For them to get absolutely wiped off the floor like that, that's the last thing I think anybody would have expected that's been following the CCL since the beginning of the year.
Even from these 4 players, if you're just a fan of Call of Duty, you know who these 4 players are. You've seen these 4 players pop up. I'm sure of it if you've watched competitive Call of Duty. Like, it's again one of those things that, like, you know, yes, we hold them to that standard, absolutely. It just felt really weird. Like, there was a weird breeze that just rolled through the Ottawa camp that there was just no teamwork at all. Like, it was all individual plays, and you really felt like that it was all just playing super selfishly. Like, each one of them were playing their own specific game, and that dates all the way back to map number 1.
I don't know, man. That is not at all what the expectation would have been. I mean, 27 and 23 for Gunzy, nearly 3,000 damage. I mean, E2N, you look at it, 14 to 31. We don't love that, but he put a lot of damage. He just couldn't finish a kill, man.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Like, nearly as much damage as Gunzy, who put together 13 more total eliminations. That's just down to the fact that, hey, we're not getting the finishing kills when we get good 1v1 looks off of initial gunfights, by the way. Like, you're the first one taking shots in a lot of these. If you're Hoop Tape or E2N, there's not finishing kills.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, look at the amount of sheer untraded kills from Phantoms and Rex, who put together a lot of those special eliminations. It was the fact that they didn't just find a miraculous first kill. It turned it into a second, or in, you know, Rex's situation, a third and a fourth there at the end. Like, that's not at all what you'd expect from this Ottawa roster.
55 non-traded kills between
nearly
Phantoms
4K
and
damage,
Rex.
bro.
Like I simply cannot believe how there were no trades to be able to find for themselves. It just really felt like that there was no confident hold nor setups at all for Ottawa throughout the entirety of these 3 maps to be able to find the trades required to constantly give themselves an advantage. And they had it in the search and destroy.
Sure.
They had so many opportunities to close out rounds in the search and destroy, and just, I mean, Rex 1v3, 1v2, 1v1. Sure, Rex is nasty today. He is gross. But you just can't let that happen.
No, you absolutely can't. And for as much as there's a lot of negative clouding around this Ottawa roster, sunshine is starting to really start to pop its head in towards the Space State roster, because not only were they putting together great individual moments, but as a roster, it feels like chemistry-wise, they're right back into the swing of things after coming off of that loss to Northwood in the winners finals, which of course means we're down to 2. It's number 1 and number 2. I think for the vast majority of people that were out there making predictions, this was the grand finals that a lot of people would have expected, and they would be right. But for Bay State, now it's time to have to win not once, but twice. It's a double best-of-5 grand finals with Northwood coming out of the winners bracket. We'll step away, get the team set up, and reintroduce them as we get ready to go and crown a champion here in Season 4. We'll be right back.